listening to Nightmare on Film Street. The current time is 6:66. Traffic is clear ahead from here to the afterlife, but it's hell outside. For the next hour, you're on Nightmare time. So, let's give a grave welcome to our hosts, John and Kim.
Hello again, fiends, and welcome to Nightmare on Film Street. Horror for the casually obsessed. I'm John.
I'm Kim.
And this week it is part 2 of Win or Die. We're talking about games of death. And this week we are talking about a movie called Game of Death. It's a little indie Canadian, French-Canadian movie. It's in English. Don't worry about it. There's no subtitles that you have to watch. But it's directed by Sébastien Landry and Laurence Moret-Lagasse. Now, you would think...
I loved your French accent there.
Yeah. It helps pronounce the name properly. You would think being Canadian, it would make it easier to read French names. It doesn't. Still stressful.
Just makes you shyer about it.
Yeah.
More shy? Shy. I'm just
the weight of a nation on my shoulders reading these two names. Anyway.
They'll never feed me poutine again.
That's right. We're talking about Game of Death this week. A super gory indie horror movie that's available on Shudder right now. If you haven't heard of Game of Death, we highly encourage you to check it out. We completely forgot to do this last week.
I know.
But Kim, what are 3 good things about Game of Death?
Okay, well, because we missed it last week, maybe let's share this one. I'll do 1, you do 2, and then I'll do 3.
Okay.
We'll take turns here.
I thought you were saying I had to do 2 of them.
Oh, yeah, you can do 2 of them if you want.
That's fine. We all know what number 1's going to be.
We know what number 1's going to be. It's going to be the gore. Game of Death is Gore City, and the special effects are marvelous. If you come for the gore alone, you will leave satisfied. I'm telling you that. There are some really great, without spoiling it, human parts.
This movie's got multiple exploding heads. Come on, let's not bury the lead here.
Yeah, it's good. It's just gnarly.
Good thing number 2, this movie comes in at a cool, breezy 73 minutes.
Right? Blow up, out.
Yeah, 90 minutes and under club, all-timer, 73 minutes. It's the exact perfect amount of time. You got no bullshit in your movie. Like, you got a bunch of exploding, a setup, a bunch of exploding heads, a conclusion, credits. That's all you got.
Should I do number 3?
Sure.
I'm going to go with the fact that it has that analog video game factor. We've got a board game that's kind of in the early era of digital. It's got that LCD type thing, kind of like the very first handheld Nintendo game. I don't know what it was called because I never got one.
I believe
John.
It was called a Game Boy.
Thank you. One of those ditties. And it's a board game that kills you. And then there's also a really cool animated sequence that I don't want to spoil, but has...
Oh, don't worry, you spoil it later in the episode. I've already edited it.
All right. Has
full spoilers on this one, guys.
Has such the vibe.
So those are 3 good things, 3 reasons we think you should check out Game of Death before we get into the rest of everything. Kim, what's keeping you creepy this week?
Super exciting. We are heading down to New Orleans in just a few short days. We're going to the Overlook Film Festival. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, mostly pre-pandemic because we used to make the trek to New Orleans. We haven't for a while because of COVID. Been supplementing our Overlook love with their collaborations in the Night Stream Festival, which you may have participated in online. A bunch of festivals came together and did virtual events, which were super fun when we couldn't really get together in person. But now that things are a little bit safer, we're all vaccinated, we're heading back to New Orleans, and I'm so excited. We are heading to Overlook in person, and even more exciting, we are a presenting sponsor.
Yeah, that's right. Nightmare on Film Street is presenting Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
How fitting, right? The 1952 film starring, surprise, surprise, Bela Lugosi and, surprise, surprise, a Brooklyn gorilla.
A real-life Brooklyn gorilla. It also has a video intro from Leonard and Jesse Malton. And I think if I remember the quote correctly on the website, it's so bad that it makes Ed Wood's films look like Gone with the Wind. We've never seen this crazy movie, but
it's funny because we were like, okay, we're sponsoring this movie. Maybe we should check it out beforehand. But
absolutely not.
I want to see it with an audience, and I just want to experience that for the first time with them. So hopefully nobody asks us about it. I'm just going to be like, it's great. It's so wild. Just come see it.
But yeah, if you're in the New Orleans area or you're interested in making the trek down, come hang out with us. Let's have a Sazerac in the sun, and let's watch some fucking spooky horror movies, guys.
Yes, we're going to be there all weekend long, checking out all the great films. We'll be doing coverage, of course, and talking about it on the show when we get back. You can follow our coverage at nofspodcast.com. Our special event, Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, plays on Sunday at 12:30 at the main theaters there. But as I said, we'll be there all weekend. So if you're there, hit us up. If you want to get tickets or passes or want to check out more of the films that are going to be featured at the festival, check out Overlook Film Festival at overlookfilmfest.com.
Yeah, Peter Strickland's new movie's going to be there. The Black Phone's going to be there. They haven't fully announced everything. Anna Lily Amanpour's new movie's there.
Two weird little podcasters are going to be there.
Hell yeah, we are. We're drinking every Sazerac in
Stop
the city.
saying that.
Fine, we're drinking Hurricanes.
Nobody's going to want to talk to us. Do you remember that time we went and got Hurricanes and I fell asleep and didn't drink mine at all, and I woke up next to a full-ass hurricane, and I was like, why did I do this?
New Orleans. Outside of film festival news, Alex Garland's Men hit theaters over the weekend.
And we saw it.
Yeah, we like Firestarter, we had big plans of maybe recording a podcast about it for the Fiend Club, really diving in deep into the themes and what we thought, but like, hey, spoiler alert, not for us.
Yeah, and I kind of knew that going in just based on what I gathered from the trailer, and without spoiling the film, there isn't a whole lot more to the film apart from the really gorgeous visuals, which you kind of get in the trailer. I don't want to insult the movie and be like, yeah, it was just the trailer for an hour and a half. But for me, as somebody who is very story focused and story is very important to me, I felt a little left out of the party.
Sure. I mean, I think there are things about that movie that you could definitely spend an entire evening talking about and mulling over with somebody afterward. It's honestly just not for me. Like, it's not really my kind of movie.
It was completely gorgeous, but yeah, very slow and subdued. And I mean, it does have some gnarly horror elements. So
the finale's got some cool shit.
Yeah, if you're going for some weird gory ass shit, you're not going to be disappointed. But on the other hand, it's just a little, I guess, artsy-fartsy for me. I'm not very artsy-fartsy.
If you really enjoyed Darren Aronofsky's Mother.
Mother?
That's no, it's got an exclamation mark on it. Mother! If you really enjoyed Darren Aronofsky's Mother, I think you'll really enjoy Men. I think both of these movies
are a great pairing. Yeah,
that would make a really a double feature that I would not buy a ticket to, but a very fitting double feature.
Yeah, I would not buy a ticket to, but a lot of people would.
Yeah, I think. and hey, I'm seeing plenty of people that are enjoying this movie online. I'm glad it's found its audience. Unfortunately, Kim and me, not the audience for this movie.
Not the audience. The house was nice. I was like, I would like to vacay there.
I would totally rent that vacation spot.
And you're like, oh, she's got a Ford Fiesta? That's a bad car. We had that car. It's a bad car.
Surprise, surprise, totals it by the end.
We totaled ours.
But hey, new horror movie in the theater. If you're looking for something to watch, if you just want to get out of the goddamn house and you have zero interest in Top Gun, Men's for you!
Yeah, and I'm sure this is like late on the boat because everybody's already seen it but us, but I hear Doctor Strange is like super horror-y. So
I think we're going to see that at the drive-in this weekend.
Yeah, I think we're going to make the trek out, which is a very out-of-turn move for us. We don't really jump on the superhero bandwagon. I don't think I've seen any of the movies in this world.
No, but I'm willing to put all of my superhero woes aside when you tell me it's directed by Sam Raimi.
And there's a Bruce Campbell appearance, so I'm bought, ticket sold. Yeah, I'll come.
I'll check it out at the drive-in.
I'm going to have no idea what's going on, but I don't think I'm going to care.
I'm going to eat popcorn, and I'm going to wait for Gore to show up. It's going to be great.
Love it.
That's what's keeping us creepy this week. We'd love to hear what's keeping you creepy in between episodes of Nightmare on Film Street. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on the Discord. You know where to get a hold of us. But let's get into our discussion about Game of Death. It's why we're here today. We're here to talk about fucking spooky board games that will fucking kill you. And no better board game than Game of Death.
What the fuck?
Hey bro, Ashley wants you.
I smoke crack.
That's ridiculous.
The good life, bitches. Seriously, guys, are we playing or not?
Has anyone ever
The
played?
game of death starts when the counter stops at the number of kills that are needed to win.
Hey, let's do this.
There's a shooter outside here!
It's real.
What's real?
Why is this happening?
Oh, wait, we need to kill 24 people to end the game?
Game of Death from 2017 is currently sitting at a 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I also saw that RogerEbert.com gave it a half star in July of 2020.
Wow. I was going to say, I don't know if this film officially had a 2017 release.
No. It was one of those ones that we saw at a film festival in 2017.
Yeah, because I remember recommending it to a bunch of people and then just never hearing when it came out. But it's on Shudder now, so you can watch it. I don't know when it landed on the platform. It kind of had like a really secret release, I guess. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about it, but I would definitely recommend this film to anybody who's into like special effects because it's got some serious shit happening in it.
That's the thing. You should be able to have two scores when you rate something. You're like, oh, overall it's this, but one specific thing about this makes it a 5-star. Like, what's the rating on that, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, cause it's like, oh shit, it's like, the dialogue is there. And like these characters, some of them are weird. But, does it have some fucking incredible practical effects?
Yeah, and it's such a hard movie to talk about because tonally, I don't think this movie is kind of either our bag naturally. It's very mumblegore, but in that millennials are holier than thou kind of way. Like I would say it's more akin to Skins, that UK series, or Euphoria than it is Scream.
Yeah, it has that vibe of, these are like Bret Easton Ellis characters, but in 2020.
Yeah, super apathetic teenagers who you wouldn't like on a non-murderous rampage day.
Yeah, they're just too bleak. Like nothing matters. Let's just do drugs and have sex until the sun explodes. Which, honestly, it's a vibe we all ride for at least a summer.
Yeah, I wish I could have that vibe. I have too much anxiety for that.
The other thing about this movie that's just fucking 73 minutes long. How do you beat that?
Yeah, when they're like, oh, this is the final stage.
You're like, are you sure?
I looked at my watch. I was like, really? This is the final stage? You guys got like 17 kills left on that countdown.
Goddamn, okay.
They made quick work of it, though.
Yeah, man, even if you don't love a movie that's 73 minutes, it's impossible not to just appreciate that it's 73 minutes. Fuck. Everybody's all like, oh, we gotta normalize 90-minute horror, and I agree, but it's only
90 minutes or less horror.
Yeah, well, so I'm saying we gotta normalize, we gotta bring back the 90-minute horror movie so we can push it to 73 minutes. Bam, that's what we need.
Yeah, well, and it works really well for this film, too, because it's a pretty simple premise.
Yeah, what is there to it?
But it's also executed very swiftly. Within the first 10 minutes of discovering the game, 2 of our 7 characters are already dead.
Yeah.
So the clock is fucking ticking and it goes fucking fast.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, hell, within the first 10 minutes of this movie, multiple characters are having sex. Somebody jerks off beside a gun. You find a deadly board game. People are doing drugs. You get everything in the first 10 minutes.
Learn about manatees.
Yeah, we learn about manatees. What is up with that?
I don't know. I was going to ask you. I was like, do you have a
metaphor
for what the manatees mean?
No, I think it's just absurd. And like,
is it because they're gentle giants?
Oh, there's that. You could argue.
And teenagers are the complete opposite, like violent minions.
Okay, look, we're getting lost in the weeds a little bit. Surely a handful of people listening to this have not seen this movie.
That's true.
It's super easy to sum up, though, and you'll be 100% caught up on everything we've said. Some kids find a board game. It's kind of like Jumanji. They put their fingers on a skull.
Jumanji meets that weird shot game, where like everybody there was like a circle and a round of shot glasses, and the goal was to like punish the people that were next to you.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with murder.
Perfect blend of those two things, plus exploding heads. You put your finger on a skull, it takes your blood sample, it spits out a random number, and you have to kill that many people before the timer runs out, or you all die one by one. That's the movie. That's all you need to know. You probably got that from the title alone. But just so we're all on the same page, that's what we're fucking talking about. And every once in a while, we cut to a TV that, like, everybody in town is watching the same National Geographic special on manatees.
Yeah, and if you have any theories as to what it means, if it means anything, I would love to hear them.
Well, I don't think it's like a big theory. I think it's just something silly and absurd. And I think if you want to pull any meaning from it, I think it's that life is absurd.
Yeah, I get the whole kind of point of this movie is a nihilistic one in that nothing matters. So mass murder is just the same as suicide, is just the same as hanging out at a summer home for the day.
Isn't it so French? Like, what is life but a game of death? Right? Like everything about it. Yeah, it's weird that in 70 minutes we also get like there's barely enough time for character explanation, but by the end of the movie we get a full ass monologue about like, I understand now the nature of existence. Like, what?
Yeah, all we know is that one guy is a pizza delivery driver, and then a brother-sister duo are far too close.
Way too fucking close. And it's not like it's a bad, poorly kept secret. Everybody, all of their friends are like, yeah, these two fuck. Like, these brother and sister, they fuck. There's a full-on lap dance between that brother and sister.
It's so
in front
weird.
of everybody.
It's so weird.
I don't get it.
And it's mirrored with, like, so it's... The problem is that, yeah, I'm kind of the belief that nothing means anything in this movie. So that sequence where there's this incesty, sexual taboo happening while a societally accepted couple are also having a sexual experience, and then they're cut together. So you're cutting back and forth between one or the other. And I think it's purely to make the audience feel uncomfortable, but also that it's just like, what's the difference? And I'm not saying that. I'm not.
The movie's saying that.
Yeah, like I do not fly with incest.
Yeah.
But yeah, like fuck, what? I don't understand.
I have no fucking idea. I don't think it brings anything to the movie. I don't know that it makes them like more interesting characters, but they fucking did it.
I guess that it's kind of like they're already outside of society and questioning what's right and what's wrong.
Ugh,
because they
teenagers.
Well, yeah, because they have that like forbidden connection.
Gross.
But it turns them into a Bonnie and Clyde duo when they go off on their spree together. And I dig their spree-ness. I just wish they weren't fucking related.
Yeah, it's gross. It's weird. They're just nuts, though, right? Like, those two, like, they were gonna go on a rampage.
Waiting for an excuse to mass murder people.
Yeah, I get that vibe from the beginning. Like, everybody in the group is
He was so
weird.
ready to murder people.
He brought a gun to a backyard party.
Backyard barbecue. He's packing his backpack. He's like, okay, sunblock, swimming trunks, gun with endless bullets.
Yeah, at no point do we ever see him reload. Who cares? The game, though. The reason we're here today is so fucking good.
Oh, no, I love it.
The game's amazing.
The perfect era of board gamery. It's got that early NES pixelated
Hell yeah.
LCD screen almost. And why almost? It does.
Yeah.
It's super camp. I love it.
Yeah, the greatest part about it is that the game exists. 100%. Like at least one copy of the game exists. Man, don't you wish this movie there's no fucking way this movie would have ever taken off and like been a fucking blockbuster hit, but like don't you wish it was so you could buy that game?
Well, the only thing is that the game is completely unplayable. There's no components to it.
They would have invented some for the physical home
Maybe
release.
just a drinking game.
Sure.
I guess it would be. It's like you count down and then the skull who's in front of you lights up and then you have to do a shot. Like that game I'm telling you about. You know the shot
I know what
roulette
game
or
you're
whatever.
talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing you could, because it's not Jumanji. Like you can't do you know how they sell like, oh, it's Jumanji, and you're like, oh, this is just fucking sorry.
Yeah. Also,
with a rhino.
it's totally their fault for not reading the instructions fully before starting.
They did read them. They're like, no, murder be murder. They're like, ha ha ha, let's play.
Well, no, but they read the instructions as they were going through the game, and then they got to the end where it's like, yes, once the game has started, you cannot stop. You have to murder people. Like, oh shit, well, I guess we should have maybe known that before we all decided to put our blood into this game. First head explosion's great. Honestly, all the head explosions
All of the
great.
head explosions are great. And I think maybe what's the most exciting thing about them, because we're here on the pod, we're very big head explosion experts.
Love it. Love a head explosion.
I'm not an expert, but I really enjoyed that the heads bubbled before they exploded.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading some interviews with the director, and how the SFX team achieved that is that they made casts of all the actors' heads.
Okay.
And they were literally with straws, these like cast forms,
Yeah.
blowing into them. So it was like air bubbling of the material. So they were literally blowing up the heads.
That's rad.
Yeah.
I hope those SFX artists weren't like huge chain smokers. So you're just getting this mask that's surrounding your face filled with secondhand smoke.
Oh my God.
It looks great. It looks awesome. And the corpses. So many corpses in this movie. I'd say 80% of the budget of this movie went toward corpses, baby.
Oh, and the corpses are gorgeous.
Amazing.
My absolute favorite corpse is Ashley with the French braids in the back of the pizza car. She explodes off screen, sort of. We don't see her full explosion, but man, do we see the aftermath.
Yeah.
And it's a fully split open head.
It's great.
With shoulders and like her bathing suit, and her whole body is still sitting in the car, but her head is just like a massacre.
Love
and
it.
it sits there basically for the duration of the ride.
Yeah, they pretend like it's not even there.
So good.
She Pulp Fictions over the back seat, and then she's just like this disgusting, gooey mess hanging out the whole time. Game still in hand, right?
And that's what's so fun, too, about the head explosions is that we don't really understand how the counter works. It
need to.
It just decides you're out of time and then explodes somebody if they haven't murdered someone.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels like those games, where you would get an electrocution, where you'd, like the thing would go around.
Oh, sure.
And you hit the buzzer.
You played dangerous games as a kid.
I didn't like that game. But it would give you like a tiny little shock, but you never knew when it was coming. And this is kind of like that, but with your head exploding.
Yeah.
Which is fucking scary. Your friend's head is just like bubbling beside you, and you're like, should I murder somebody or should I let this happen?
Yeah, like the death. You never know. It could be around any corner. Second best practical effects of the movie is that dude that gets cut in half with a car. Do you remember like the hitchhiker or the jogger?
I love outside intestines. I'm sure we've established this. Outside intestines are where it's at.
Anytime somebody is like grabbing at their stomach and like their legs are 8 feet away and there's a bunch of tendrils hanging out and they're like, what happened?
Yeah, normally
Great.
you gotta watch a zombie movie to get some outside insides.
Yeah.
They love to explore the gastro tract. They're like, spleen, stomach, entrails, colon.
Not sure what this is.
Do not
Keeping it
bite
for
into
later.
the colon. Pro tip, future zombies. Do not bite into that.
You always see that in movies, right? Where like, especially like Day of the Dead, where like they rip out fucking intestines and take a bite. It's like, that's the one thing I wouldn't be biting into.
I honestly think I learned that from a shark movie where they were like trying to do an autopsy on a shark and somebody cut the colon and they're like, oh dear God.
Why didn't you cut from the other end?
Do not cut the colon.
The greatest thing about that scene too is that we are outside on the road. It's probably in a studio somewhere, I'm guessing, or it's green screen so we can't see his fucking legs. But like usually you see that in a interior setting where
because they can make like a fake floor and half of your character is, doing that magic trick where the sword can't pierce them because they're technically under the table, which is too thick, but not too thick, but it's weird paneling. I don't know.
Angles, baby.
Yeah.
Movie magic.
We're like where you, like, how there's a platform underneath the Muppets? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly was thinking about that too when we watched that scene because there's a full-out overhead shot of this guy separated in two, connected by a few pieces of intestine, and the top half of him is still moving around.
Very responsive.
Yeah. Does not know the bottom half isn't there.
Ooh, that's a rough way to go.
What do you think is worse, exploding head or death by wilding out teenager?
Ooh. Well, in this movie, the exploding heads aren't fast. Like, you really know it's coming. And it looks
seems
like
like
it
you just get a splitting headache for like 30 seconds. You can do anything for 30 seconds. That's what my trainer says on my treadmill.
Okay. You can take this mountain, you can have your head exploded. Just put your mind to it.
Yeah, 30 seconds, you got this.
Yeah, if you dream it, then you
Teamwork
can
makes the dream work?
Teamwork makes the dream work? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if I had to choose, I would rather have my head exploded. I don't know. Something about getting murdered by a complete stranger for no reason would just, like, I don't want to die with those many questions. I'm not going to get them answered.
Yeah, you do know, though, like, I mean, I guess you don't know because you don't really understand that they're playing a game of death, but
yeah.
The benefit to being murdered by a stranger is that they're on a timer, so they got to do something quick and efficient. Like, you know, puncturing you with a saline bag pole or shooting you with one of the many bullets they brought on this trip.
One of the many bullets. Shit, there was a question I was going to ask you. I don't remember now. Fuck.
Would I play the game of death? No.
Absolutely not. Of course not.
I guess, but that's not true, though, because
if somebody pulled that fucking game out of an attic, I'd be like, hell yeah,
I'd be
let's
like,
play
fuckers,
this.
get your hand on the
Yeah,
board.
right, yeah. I'm putting on 2.
It just looks so fun.
It's a great looking game.
And its cute little face when somebody dies. It's like, me.
And it takes your blood, and then like the blood just like trails down toward the center console.
Yeah, and it does something like spooky with it in there.
Yeah.
I don't really understand though, because they don't ever try to like pry open the board game. Somebody breaks a baseball bat on it.
And that's it.
Is
They're
there
like,
a battery compartment?
It's indestructible.
Does it have batteries? It looks like it should.
Yeah, you know it's evil because it's a video game that a board game / video game that no one has played for 30 years and it still works. Like if you don't have to order a new set of like weird batteries that no one has anymore in their house off Amazon, then it's evil.
One of my board games when I was a kid, it was Operation. I left those double D batteries in there.
Oh.
Are there double D batteries? D batteries.
Can you imagine? Like the biggest fucking batteries you can find in order to electrocute these kids? Love it.
They had the acid had leaked out.
Oh, sure.
And it had, because who had a box for Operation? I didn't. It was just sitting among the board games. I had to throw like 3 board games because the acid went everywhere.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
It corroded and just kept spreading.
It was like an acid fest.
Really?
Yeah, it was very sad.
That's crazy.
I hate to throw out a board game, even a game of death.
Speaking
of which, Operation is a terrifying game. It electrocutes you. You're lying. You totally had an electrocute you game.
Yeah, Operation. I had Operation, yeah.
That's sadistic.
I didn't have this other game you were talking about.
That is a sadistic game. You know what? It's probably why I never became a doctor.
That's what stopped you? Like, I was never able to reach my full potential because I got zapped one time.
Fuck that wishbone.
I would love, man, that's a series
I'm
that
sorry,
I'd love
sir.
to watch.
We cannot repair your apple on a knee.
I would love a series of, like a web series of people just interviewing doctors about their childhood memories of playing Operation. Like, absolute, especially like doctors that have no sense of humor.
This is maybe an obscure question. Did you have any spooky or scary board games growing up?
Spooky or scary board games.
Like, did you ever play Nightmare or
Played it at like a friend's house, didn't own it.
I played it at a friend's house too, and
Yeah.
I think that made it even better because it was spookier. Like,
Hell yeah.
It actually wasn't even a friend. It was like my neighbor who was my sister's age. So like, it was very fucking cool for me to be in my neighbor's basement playing this fucking game.
You're part of the elite club.
Yeah, because like she didn't talk to me.
No, they just needed a new warm body for Nightmare.
They're like, oh, it needs 4 players.
Fuck.
Get the youngins. Yeah, and I only played it once as a kid, and I like chased that high my whole life, and now I have like 4 copies of it.
I know, I didn't play it a whole lot either, but I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, the friends that had it, we're not even talking about the movie anymore.
We're talking about games of death.
The friends that had that game got sick of it fast because they played
and never fucking wanted to play.
Never wanted to play. And you're just like, why am I even sleeping over right now? I only came to play Nightmare.
Oh my god. I also had 13 Dead End Drive growing up,
Yeah, that's a
which
good
was
one.
very fucking fun, except the chandelier never dropped properly. Probably why they made a sequel, 13 Dead End Drive, which I own now.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people complain about that chandelier.
Clue is spooky.
Clue's a good one. I hated it as a kid.
I hate traditional Clue, but I have introduced you to the VHS Clue,
It's a good
and it
one.
is the most amazing Clue ever.
Yeah, it's like Nightmare, except no, not horror.
Yeah,
It's murder mystery.
It's literally like Clue the movie with Tim Curry.
It's kind of
It's
like
as good, John. It's
As
as
good.
fucking good. We should do the Clue VHS on the podcast.
I mean, that's an idea.
But yeah,
But that's sacrilege.
It's fun. You have to like deduce who the murderer is based on things in the scene, and you watch scenes from this pseudo story where everybody's just being shifty-eyed, and Colonel Mustard's trying to poison people, and I'm sorry.
No, it's fun.
Are you not vibing with my spooky board game chat?
I just don't know that it's something that other people can relate to. I think if we talked about Nightmare for an hour and a half, everybody'd be cool with it. Clue? Little on the fringe.
I don't think it is.
The VHS Clue. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, for the Value Village, for like the thrift
shop
crowd
It has a sequel, John.
There.
It has a sequel.
Yeah, when we own that sequel.
They go to Hawaii. Or somewhere tropical.
Shout out to our friends Pat and Steph for giving us that sequel when we saw them on our last road trip.
Woo!
This movie's weird. This movie's wild. It's super short. Love that. And it's got, I don't know, 8 exploding heads in it. You're lucky if you get one every 10 movies.
Don't you feel really sad, though, when they killed the forest ranger lady?
Of course. Marilyn didn't deserve it.
She's so sing-songy.
What's Wilson gonna do? She's got a dog with a cone on its head at home right now, and there's no one there to take care of it.
Oh, when she was singing to it through her cop radio.
Right? Wilson had the biggest fucking song. We're talking about everything but the actual plot of this movie.
It's part of the plot.
Okay.
Her death is supposed to signify, like, guilt or shame to the audience, right? Because we get a window of who she is before she stumbles upon this teenage massacre.
That's a great question. I don't know. I have no goddamn idea. I guess we're supposed to feel it a little more. If we're supposed to be surprising.
What are you talking about? We're both like, well.
Yeah. No, it didn't really occur to me until this moment that, yeah, it is a little weird that we follow her for a little while. I like her as a character because she's like the Fargo cop, where you realize far too late that the warm, pleasant, oh gosh, jolly nature of who she is part of her method of being a detective. She's just nothing but polite to these people for no reason, and how they react to her sort of like Midwestern hospitality, despite them being covered in blood, is how she's sort of able to deduce who they are
off.
As people.
Yeah,
but she definitely does that with everybody. Like Betty White used to say, like, how you see people act around animals is who they really are. Like how she sees people act around her gosh jolly leave it to beaverness is how she sees who they really are.
Yeah, because there's a moment where she's starting to walk away from them. She's like, oh, you guys have a good day. And she basically like says goodbye to her dog in the radio when she turns around to re-engage them. Like at that point, she already knows something's off with these people.
Definitely.
And then somebody's head explodes and she's like, what the fuck is happening?
Good for her. The fucking forest ranger in this movie is a better cop than any of the cops. Although, I will say, I love at the end of this movie, the very, very end of this movie, after everybody's dead and we've got a final girl. The cops we've shot ahead. It's Christmas now, and the cops are doing a Secret Santa with shit left over from the evidence locker.
Which I love.
I would love to believe that that's real, that they do that. Like, well, this stuff's all marked for garbage, but it's Christmas, so let's just wrap it up and give it to each other.
It's almost on board with the nihilism of the movie, just that the cops are like, well, fuck it, you can have this toolbox full of cocaine.
Yeah, oh, no, the toolbox is like, this is from the Riverside murders. I remember that. You're like, what? You're just gonna give out a serial killer's tackle box? You're not even gonna list it on eBay?
It could still have cocaine.
That's possible, yeah. The fucking sheriff.
Or teeth, just baby teeth.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Oh.
The fucking sheriff who opens the game of death is like, I remember this. Hey, you guys were there when we arrested these kids, right? Yeah, anybody want to play? And the camera is slowly like zooming in on the game. It is still crusted with blood.
Nobody cleaned it.
No, not at all. No attempt. Didn't run it under a tap, didn't give it a wipe. And he is fine with that. He's like, you know what? Let's go.
It went straight out of the evidence bag into some gift wrap.
Yeah. That's gnarly.
You know, a cop version of Game of Death would be really fucking fun.
I was thinking about that. I'm just like, wow, this could have come out later and it would have hit really well.
Because there's so many people in and out of a precinct that police could argue might deserve death.
Oh, fuck it. They just turn the body cam off and go pull a few people over.
And also just like the fucking access to weaponry they have. Like,
hell yeah.
It would turn into a shoot 'em up video game.
Yeah.
Especially if maybe because of their profession, like the number would be really fucking high.
I think the number is actually based on how many people are playing. I think if you've got, there's no way you get 24 if there's only 2 people going in on this,
it does
right?
like a blood work analysis. Maybe it can tell that they're police officers and they have lots of guns.
Wow. I don't know if that thing has enough space for 3 digits, but surely, yeah, they're probably going to get a lot. It does analyze their blood, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's supernatural. I think inside the Game of Death, it's empty.
It has to be supernatural. It's not like there's a scout that hangs out with the game that like presses a button and the heads explode. Like, it's purely the game that's doing this. There's no answers. I love that this movie skips that whole 40-minute chunk where they would, like, and if this was a studio movie, those kids, 2 of them would have gone off to go kill a bunch of people at a hospital like they do in the film, and the other 2 would have like left to go like, we gotta get to the bottom of where this game came from. We gotta find out who made it.
Oh my God.
And they find a guy who's like, I remember the Game of Death. Somebody hired me to design it. Super mysterious fellow. Never met him in person. Paid only in cash. You know?
Or no, they would find like the last survivor of the Game of Death. It would be like Final Destination 2 when they find Allie Larder.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I remember when I cheated death. Some called it a game. I called it a nightmare.
Yeah, and then boldened with the new knowledge that they have from their second act library.
They kill their friends.
They kill their friends, just like they did here, so whatever.
Yeah. We do need to talk about maybe the second best thing. So the first best thing is the fucking special effects, the practical
Absolutely.
effects.
Can't beat it.
Second best thing is the animation sequence when the brother-sister duo go spree in the hospital.
Because it's like 18 different styles of animation.
It's so fucking fun.
Yeah, I love it.
You don't spend more than 3 seconds on a single art style. And it's a great way to keep your film indie while having a murder massacre in a hospital.
Yeah. It's also just like, at some point, I think you needed it. I have zero memory of any of the animated sequences. Surely to God, that montage was always there. I don't know how this movie would exist without it. But there's like an 8-bit intro at the beginning of the movie that neither of us
I did not remember that.
Don't remember that whatsoever. But it's great. It's like you get to see a movie montage that is sort of riffing off a bunch of 8-bit video games that you used to love growing up.
Yeah, and it also provides like a little bit of humor and levity in a movie that's really even note, if that's a way. Like it doesn't have a lot of rises and falls. I wouldn't call it a roller coaster ride. I would just say that you're on board a spree.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Game of Death train. Please keep your hands and arms inside. We will not go more than 10 miles per hour.
The other thing that's really good about this movie, actually 2 quick things. One, the first person that the crazy brother with the gun kills. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was basically, I think he's pointing a gun at somebody and the guy's just like, hey man, stop playing around. He's like, I'm not playing around. I'm playing the Game of Death. And boom, shoots him. It's great. It's like 100% written for the trailer, but I fucking loved it. And then the other thing...
It's just more proof that he was way on board way too early.
Way too quick. Way too quick. Also, everybody gets bored of the game and leaves, but the brother and sister just sit there looking at the dial, going like, what of this game? And then as soon as people start dying, they figure it out pretty quick and they're ready to get going. I liked the like found footagey type stuff. Like occasionally we get cell phone footage or body cam footage, or I think one of the joggers has a GoPro on her hat. Like, and that we go into that when she's being killed by the brother and sister.
That felt really dark when they're trying to like shoot her close range like that with the found footage camera. Yeah, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, because he's trying to like talk her into it. Like, no, you can totally do it, and she can't fucking go anywhere because I think they've already shot her at least once, and she's kind of like hobbled away. When they get to the palliative care center before they go in and start doing their massacre, this movie's got 2 or 3 really good long takes that just sort of like pull in throughout the whole scene. And when they get to the palliative care center, it's like towards sundown, and he's talking to her, and the brother and sister are talking to each other, and he gives her the gun. He's like, you can do this, blah, 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 I love you. And like by the time we get to like all that weird I love you stuff.
Where they're making out.
We're like real close on their face, so they're kind of like silhouetted in like the night sky. And it's like, this is like some Nicholas Winding Refn shit, like from Drive or Neon Demon. Like I was like, this actually looks very good. If you can forget that they're brother and sister.
It did have a really chill, mellow synth score, which I was like, I don't know if this is the vibe for Exploding Heads.
It's a weird movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I hope that they're going to do another movie just because like they very clearly are a little different than other indie filmmakers, and their approach to practical effects is awesome. This doesn't necessarily factor into my appreciation of it, but like fucking Canadian content, baby.
Are they Canadian?
It's a Quebec movie. It's from Montreal, yeah.
Cool.
It's weird to be like, yo, Canadian content, what's up? Y'all love this movie with weird
With
brother
all
and
that
sister.
Yeah, but the fucking concept, like Game of Death with
So
a
great.
literal board game. How do you not, if this was the era of Blockbuster, every single person listening to this podcast, if they saw Game of Death and
On
the
a
cover,
VHS cover?
and the cover was a retro board game,
Yeah.
I would be like, Mom, rent this for me.
Yeah, and you know what? You don't even have to spend money on it. You can, quote unquote, rent it right now from Shudder. The fucking cover looks great. Again, 73 minutes, great practical effects. Weird brother and sister. You should totally check this movie out.
If you haven't watched it yet, I would recommend watching this at like 4 a.m. You can't sleep and you're like kind of in a weird semi-delirious mood.
Yeah.
This is the perfect movie for that. Because
That'd
you're
be
just
good.
like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it's a great Midnight Madness movie.
Yeah. Do you want to do ratings?
Sure, what's your rating?
I'm going to give Game of Death a 2.5 out of 4.
I'm also a 2.5 out of 4.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't even talk about how weird that fucking like monologue was at the end of the movie. She's
I
like, I
didn't-
understand it now. Oh, like life is a blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, oh, and like through the cosmos and this and that. And it's like, she didn't even say life is a game of death. Like, it seemed like that's what she was
You're like,
leading toward.
say the line.
Yeah, just fucking say it.
Yeah, I honestly, I kind of like flipped it off and I was just like, teenagers.
Man, I can't even remember. Like, the problem is, like, one thing she said was really good, and then the rest of it was junk.
It was
and
kinda
now
like
I don't even
word
remember.
salad.
Yeah, it was 100% word salad. Oh,
Maybe
well.
it just didn't translate.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or she was just a teenager trying to find like nothing means anything and death is coming for us all and why don't we just explode our heads and
Oh, that was the. Oh, that was. Now I remember what it is. Death isn't the end. Death is the bonus level. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, I like this. This
so
is
why
fun.
aren't you ending this with suicide?
That's what it seemed like it could have led
Yeah,
toward, right?
because she kills the pizza guy.
That's how I think maybe she doesn't feel bad about it. It's broken her reality a little bit, and like she can justify it and she can feel okay about it because she isn't killing them. They're not dead and gone forever. They're going to the bonus level.
Yeah, but then she says, you can't win, you can only die. And you're like,
She says a lot of things.
yeah, teenagers.
Right? Yeah, 2.5 out of 4 from the both of us. This is a perfectly serviceable indie movie with incredible practical effects.
Oh,
Like,
practical effects are 4 out of fucking 4.
absolutely. But that's just our opinion, guys. Let us know what you thought of this weird fucking indie movie. Don't hold it against Canada. Please come visit. And you can hit us up on Twitter at nofspodcast.com, in the Nightmare on Film Street Discord at discord.com/nofspodcast.
You twittered us at .com, but that's fine.
I'm becoming an old man who doesn't understand social media. Yeah, go to Twitter, Google Nightmare on Film Street, you'll find us.
If you're a fan of the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps us get the show in front of more fiends.
Or get real old school about it. Recommend it to a friend in real life.
Oh,
Ooh,
talk
not
to
nice.
somebody.
Don't like that. Oh, anxiety. But worth it because we're your favorite podcast. Please help us grow the horde. Share the podcast with somebody that you think would enjoy it. And please join us again next week where we'll be talking about more horror movies, I would think. I think that we're planning on talking about horror movies next week,
think
right?
so,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Well, until then, I'm John.
I'm Kim.
Stay creepy.
It appears you made it out alive, but we'll get you next time. Help us to grow the horde. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you subscribe. More terror can be found lurking on our website, nofspodcast.com. Until next time, stay creepy, fiends.